Thanks so much for coming out here today. I'd like to introduce us to our next session, addressing the bipartisan infrastructure law. My name is Austin Williams. I'm very excited to be here. When Jessica first invited me, it's truly an honor. This is, I think, a very unique opportunity for all of us at this time. And not only am I excited to be introducing our fine panelists, but I'm also excited because we have an opportunity through these investments to really be thinking about how we interact with our natural infrastructure, our fisheries, our waterways, our watersheds, and the landscape in a wholly new way. Many of us used to thinking about watersheds or culvert replacement projects or stream bank stabilization projects on an individual basis. And we really have an opportunity to think on a much grander scale, on a much broader scale than we have really ever thought about these issues before. So with that, I'm Austin Williams. I'm our Legal and Policy Director for Trout Unlimited. In addition to my other responsibilities, I also lead our infrastructure work across the country to try and help our agency friends take advantage of this unique opportunity. This, I believe, is the 1-year anniversary of the bipartisan infrastructure law being signed. I'm not sure that that's coincidence. I assume it is. But 1 year ago today, so November 15th last year, after years of hard work by Congress, by federal agencies, by advocacy organizations like Trout Unlimited and others in this room, Congress overcame its division and moved beyond partisan politics and passed this law, making $1.2 trillion available for investment in our natural infrastructure. What's really remarkable about all of this is that it wasn't just a partisan effort. All of the Alaska delegation supported passage of this law, as well as other members of Congress in both chambers on both sides of the aisle. Not only did we get one momentous law passed in Congress last year, we actually got two. The focus of this law, or of this session, will be the bipartisan infrastructure law, but I also want to bring attention to the Inflation Reduction Act that makes significant additional funds available for ecosystem resiliency, for management of our public lands, for all of the good things that people in this room tend to care about. So let me look at my notes, remind myself what I have forgotten to mention. I think I've hit on most of the things. I'd like to invite our panelists up to the front here. Do you want me to introduce in groups or all at once? Maybe okay. I'll start with Erika, Amman, and Monica Keim with NOAA. Erika is a fish biologist with the NOAA Restoration Center. She received her master's in fisheries from the University of Alaska Fairbanks in Juneau. She began her work, or works throughout Alaska, through both the Restoration Center as well as the Damage Assessment and Restoration Program. And Erika, you are the best contact for everyone here for bipartisan infrastructure law funding opportunities in Alaska. I will also, since I'm not sure exactly how you guys are going, introduce Monica at this time as well. Monica has worked on salmon population restoration since 2016, including as a privately contracted technician seasonally with the Department of Fish and Game, with the U.S. Forest Service, as well as with NOAA Fisheries. She joined NOAA this past September. She works on as coordinator for the Pacific Coast Salmon Recovery Fund. So this is a west-wide position, not just Alaska, and can certainly address some of the competitive process as it relates to Alaska applicants.
Thanks, Austin.
Yep.
Okay. All right, so as I was standing in the back of the room, it's not NOAA's bipartisan infrastructure law. The law is like, so maybe I should have put NOAA and the bipartisan infrastructure law, so just so that's clear that it's not like just NOAA. But I was like, from the back of the room, I was like, oh, well, that looks like it's just us, but it's definitely not. So hi, my name is Erika Amman, and I've kind of been the de facto person to come to, but now Monica has come and she can talk a little bit about PCSRF, and I'm going to be presenting on opportunities, and I'm the point person for just a couple of them, but I did my best to kind of gather them all so that we could have some information. And I'm familiar with all of them, but obviously some of them are my program and some of them are not. So I have varying levels of knowledge on the ins and outs of them. But what I wanted to do is just to, show a little bit of what's coming and what we've been experiencing under the Infrastructure Act, and let people know about opportunities. So, as Austin said, it was signed into law in November 2021, and it provides roughly $3 billion for NOAA over the next 5 years, and with significant funding available for habitat restoration, conservation, and coastal resilience efforts. So like Austin was saying, this is just a real opportunity for us to make some pretty large impacts in conservation, resilience, and restoration. As I said, I'm just going to go over some of the NOAA funding that I think is relevant, but you can learn more at the website that I have on the screen about the NOAA funding. So what I am going to cover is essentially 4 different programs. The National Coastal Resilience Fund, which is NOAA's partnership with NIFWF, Habitat Restoration and Resilience Funding, Fish Passage Funding, and then Monica's going to cover the Pacific Coastal Salmon Recovery Fund. And then I threw in some extra ones at the end that, maybe aren't as relevant, but I thought maybe people would be interested in. So when the NIFWF funding comes out, there's always a bajillion questions. So I just did a little bit on who NIFWF is. So they're an independent 501c3 nonprofit organization created by Congress in 1984, and they're the nation's largest conservation grant maker. And the organization works with both the public and the private sectors to protect and restore the nation's fish, wildlife, plants, and habitats for current and future generations. And I know Mike is going to talk about another partnership with Fish and Wildlife Foundation in his talk. So this is the NOAA-NIFWF partnership, and it's called the National Coastal Resilience Fund. And so under the Infrastructure Act, $492 million was made available to be administered through the National Coastal Resilience Fund. The grant program is designed to support nature-based solutions for building community resilience to coastal hazards and enhancing habitats for Fish and Wildlife Service. In 2022, there is about $140 million in funding for that RFP or request for proposals. We anticipate a similar amount in 2023. And there's no minimum or maximum, but the general range of projects is between 100,000 and 10 million. They really do want kind of larger projects that would make a significant effect. And we do have some tentative, so I was told nobody can hold them to this, but we have some tentative timing on the 2023 RFP release. And so RFP is request for proposal, so that's what NIFWF will put out asking for people to propose. So in March of 2023, they're going to release their RFP, and they'll ask for pre-proposals, which will be due in April. And so those are just real short proposals. A lot of times it's capped at 2 to 5 pages, where you can send in your project ideas and it doesn't have to be fully fleshed out. And then we'll review those pre-proposals and then invite certain people back to submit full proposals. There's no federal match required, but it is strongly encouraged. And so there will be, ranking criteria based on availability of match for this program. It has a broad eligibility, and if you want to be made aware of this opportunity, I do have the website on the screen. So it is coastal resilience, and so this is the geographic focus, or It's where projects need to touch, like if you do have an anadromous stream, it has to pass through this area, but obviously it's whatever that goes to the ocean, so if you have an anadromous stream, you're pretty safe. It doesn't have to originate in the area that is colored in orange, but it does have to touch that area, or the effects would need to touch that area. Ooh, it's a little, sorry, it's a little jumbled there. So this is through the NOAA Restoration Center. So this is actually the program that I work for, so I'm a little bit more familiar with these. We have 4 funding opportunities. 2 are fish passage and 2 are coastal resilience that we'll be going over. And to be made aware of these opportunities is the website on the bottom. Also, if I have a listserv, and if you aren't on the listserv, if you want to email me, my email will be at the end of this presentation, then I can add you to the listserv. So I'll make you aware when these opportunities come about. So the first one we have is restoring fish passage through barrier removal. So for this, so it is also a little bit of an awkward time to be giving this presentation because we've just finished our review of these 4 opportunities. So I don't have information. I'll give you the information for 2022, and there might be some changes in the coming years for these opportunities, as far as like timing. But the criteria and the award amounts should be pretty much the same. So this is my best knowledge at this time. So up to $65 million would be available to support fish passage for native, migratory, and sea-run fish in coastal ecosystems. The award range is about $1 million to $15 million. Match is not required, but leveraged funds were given points in ranking. And eligible applicants are essentially everyone except for federal agencies are not eligible. The next opportunity is up to $12 million available to provide federal financial and technical assistance to tribes, tribal commissions, consortia, or tribal corporations to remove barriers to fish passage. This had an award range of $300,000 to $5 million, and eligible applicants are federally recognized tribes, tribal commissions, consortia, and tribal corporations. In this funding opportunity, a lot of emphasis was given on building tribal capacity to be able to do fish passage projects. And so projects, you didn't even need to complete a project within the project period if you were building capacity, like making it so that your tribal organization would be able to do fish passage projects in the future, prioritization so that you could put in applications in the next go round. So a lot of it was actually geared towards capacity building. But obviously, fish passage projects were acceptable, and at some point in time, it was anticipated that the funding would lead to fish passage projects. For this, match and leverage was not an evaluation criteria. Applicants could include the leverage or match that they had, and that would be kind of included in the points that were given to stakeholder support. Okay, so our next 2 get more into the coastal resilience. So our first opportunity is the Transformational Habitat Restoration and Coastal Resilience Grants. And this had up to $85 million available to restore habitat for fisheries and protected resources while strengthening the resilience of coastal communities and ecosystems. The award range was between $1 million and $15 million. Match was not required, but confirmed match and or leverage funding is an element that's considered in the valuation criteria. So you would get points if you did have confirmed match or leverage. Next is the Coastal Habitat Restoration and Resilience Grants for underserved communities. So this had up to $10 million available to engage underserved communities in habitat restoration activities that promote resilient ecosystems and communities. The award range was $75,000 to $1 million, and match, again, was not required, but was an element in consideration of the evaluation criteria. And for this, the eligible applicants, are the non-federal partners, and then the applicants also had to demonstrate either their status as or in connection to an underserved community, including all tribal governments and tribal entities. So I don't know if you guys are familiar with some of the tools, but there have been a lot of different tools generated either right before the Infrastructure Act or in the wake of the Infrastructure Act to show how, if your community would be an underserved community. So if like the CREST tool or other tools sound familiar, but you could either use one of those tools or you could just describe your community and why it would be underserved. A lot of times in Alaska, people would be able to either talk about their inability to, or of access to services because of their remoteness of the location, or income levels in their area, especially, a lot of subsistence communities. If you just go by the dollar amounts, they were able to show a case for being in underserved communities, so of wages and so forth. So a lot of Alaska communities were eligible just under those statistics. All right, and then I'll hand it over to Monica.
I'm a little shorter. So the Pacific Coastal Salmon Recovery Fund was established in the year 2000, so it's been around a little while. Over the last 8 years, we have been allocated approximately $65 million for PCSRF base funds. So that's what we're expecting to get this next funding cycle. The $99.4 million in total estimate is with the addition of the BIL funds. So each year that adds $34.4 million with $172 million over the 5-year cycle. So through fiscal year 2026, we will have this estimated funding source. These projects are meant to be focused on salmon recovery. So they're open to states of Alaska, Washington, Oregon, California, Nevada, and Idaho, as well as tribal commissions and individual tribes that are part of the Pacific Coast and the Columbia Basin. So pretty broad-reaching program, specifically for Alaska. Tribal commissions and individual tribes, nonprofits and individual tribes are able to apply through the state's subaward, which is the Alaska Sustainable Salmon Fund, which you've probably heard of. And I've put both links up here, either to apply through NOAA or through the Alaska Department of Fish and Game. I'm hoping that these slides are available for people to just click those links, but if not, let me know and I can get these websites to you. Typically, our award range is anywhere from 0 up to $25 million that you can apply for your projects. We are still awaiting the upper ceiling for that as we find out what we're being allocated this fiscal year. This application will open in January, and it goes for 60 days after that. We typically post this opportunity the first week of January, but it is a little flexible, so keep your eyes open for that and definitely check out online for more information. Since I am pretty new to this program, I've been here about 2 months, maybe a little bit longer. I'll do my best to answer your questions about either PCSRF or what funds we're getting included into this. But I also work with Jenny Franks. She's our lead coordinator, so the two of us coordinate the program. She is based out of Portland, so she's not here locally, but we can kind of work together to answer your questions. Typically, we prioritize projects that are meant to address factors limiting productivity. So these are action items. These are items that are identified in strategic action plans or in recovery plans for specific populations. We also prioritize designing those strategic action plans or collecting data that contributes to viability assessments, as well as building capacity, education and outreach, and any kind of status or trend monitoring more generally. So thank you. My contact information is here. My last name is Keim, monicakime@noaa.gov. Feel free to email me. You can always come up to me after and ask questions too if you'd like.
Sorry, because I did say I was going to just show some other funding opportunities that maybe aren't as relevant, but just to make people aware of them. There's the National Oceans and Coastal Security Fund Grant Program, which received $492 million. Some of you might remember when we were part of the Coastal Zone Management Program that was sunsetted, and so we are not, at this point in time, eligible for the Coastal Zone Management Program funds, but possibly we could, at some point in time, get back into that program. A little bit further down, Cook Inlet, the National Estuarine Research Reserves. I know that the Ketchimack Bay Research Reserve did receive funds for habitat restoration. And then also our NOAA Marine Debris Program did receive fund $150 million for over 5 years and is looking at programs to reduce marine debris in the state of Alaska, as well as abandoned and derelict vessels. And we actually have done some debris removal in freshwater streams under that program. So I thought that might be of interest to people. And then this is our contact information. Mm-hmm.